In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this low poly stylized building in Blender. Now this tutorial is a clip from a longer tutorial that I created on how to create low poly assets in Blender. So if you'd like to watch the full tutorial, then I'll have the link in the description and a card right up there on the screen. Or if you'd just like to learn how to create this stylized low poly building, then you can watch this tutorial. And also, before we start, if you'd like to help support me and my YouTube channel, you can purchase the tutorial files on my Gumroad store and on my Patreon page, and also checking out my Gumroad and Patreon is a really great way to help support me and this YouTube channel. Alright, so real quick, I'll just show you how I've set up my Blender scene if you want it to look the same as mine. So what I did is I just deleted everything, and then also I went right over here to the world and I added in an HDRI to get some nice realistic lighting and reflections. So right over here on the world, I'm going to click on this right here, and I'm going to go right here and go to environment texture. So we're going to add an environment texture into the color, and then you can open up an HDRI. And this is the HDRI that I'll be using, so it's a free HDRI from polyhaven.com. Links in the description if you'd like to download it. So I downloaded the 1K HDR version, so I'm just going to click on that and then click on open image. And then also, because this is a low poly stylized building, I'm going to be using Blender Eevee. I think Eevee looks pretty nice. And to make Eevee look a little bit nicer, I'm going to turn on the ambient occlusion, the bloom, and the screen space reflections. And then in the tutorial, I also have a transparent background. So if you'd like to have a transparent background so that when you're in rendered mode, you can't see the world in the background, right down here, if you go to the render properties, you can open up the film tab and then you can click on the transparent button. So that's how I set up my Blender file if you'd like to do those things. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. All right, so the next thing we're going to be creating is the low poly building. So to create that, I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cube. Let's tab into edit mode, and then I'll press S to scale, and I want to scale this up so it's pretty big, just like that. Then I'll press G to grab, and we're going to bring it up on the Z axis and put it right there on the grid. And then I'm also going to go right down here, and I'm going to click on the face select, and then I can just select this face, and I want to press X to delete it, and I'm just going to delete the faces because I don't need that bottom face down there. Now I want to add a little lip, kind of like a foundation on the bottom of the house. So let's click right here on the vertex select, and then I'll hold down the Alt key and select this bottom ring of vertices. So I can now press E to extrude, and then I'll press S to scale, and I will just scale that foundation up a little bit, and then I'll press E to extrude, I'll bring it down on the Z axis, and just bring that down a little. So that is good. Let's double tap the A key to select everything, and I'll press G to grab, and we're going to bring everything up on the Z axis. And then I'm going to click right back here to go to the face select, and I want to select this face, and I'll press G and Z, and we are going to make this building quite a bit higher. Now I want to give a little detail, kind of like this, kind of a little lip in the center there. So I'm going to press Control R, I'll add a loop cut, bring this loop cut up a little bit, then I'll press Control R, click to place that and bring that up a little bit. So I now want to extrude these out. So I'm going to click right here to go to the face select. I'll hold down the Alt key and select this loop of faces, and then I can press E to extrude and then press S to scale. We want to scale it out, but I don't want to scale it out on the Z axis because it's slowly going up as well as out. So I'll press Shift Z, and that will not include the Z axis. So I'll just bring it out and click to place that there. Let's navigate right up here, and I want to add another lip here on the top. So to do that, I'm going to select the top face, and I'll press E to extrude, and then right after that I'll press S to scale, and we're going to scale that out a bit to about there. Then I can press E to extrude, we're going to bring it up on the Z axis, and I'll bring it up to about there. And then I want to press I, and that is going to inset that, and I'm going to bring that down. And then I can press E to extrude, and I want to extrude that down, and that way we're going to have kind of a little lip there on the top of the building. And then while we're up here, we might as well model some little things here on the top. So I'm going to be modeling some little metal boxes. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate this, and I will scale it down. And then I'm also going to scale it on the Y axis. So press S to scale and Y to bring it over on the Y axis. I'll press G to grab, and I'm just going to stick this kind of about there. And then I'll press E to extrude. We're going to extrude that down. And then I'm going to select this face right here, and I'll press Shift D to duplicate this, and I'm going to scale this down. And we'll just make a second box that's a little bit smaller. So I'll press E to extrude, and we will extrude that down. And then you can see the shading is a bit messed up. You can see these boxes look a little bit dark. So I'm just going to double tap the A key and I can press Shift N, and there we go. Now the normals have been recalculated. And then I want to add one more box just kind of over here. So I'm going to select this face right here. I'll press Shift D to duplicate. We can just bring that over. I can also press S to scale, and we can scale it on the Y axis. So scale it out a bit. And I'm just going to bring it down. So bring it down on the Z axis, and then I can press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that down there. And I think I will bring that down a little bit. And then again, I need to select everything because you can see the normals need to be recalculated because the shading is a bit weird. So I'll press Shift N and that'll recalculate the normals. So on the front of the building right here, I want to add a door. So I'm going to press Control R. Let's add a loop cut here. So I'll click and drag and put that over there. That's going to be the side of the door. I'll press Control R again. Let's bring this over for the other side of the door. And I do also think that everything is probably a little bit too high. You could change it to whatever size you want. I'm just going to select everything with the A key in edit mode, and then I can press S to scale. We're going to scale it down on the Z axis and just make it a little bit smaller. And then I can press G and Z, and we're going to bring it down a little bit farther. So that is looking good. Let's press Control R now to add a loop cut and finish that door. So I'll add a loop cut right here. We're going to bring it up and put it right there. So right here, that is going to be our door. So let's press 3 or click right here to the face select. I'm going to select this face and I want to extrude the face back. So I'll press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that back and just bring it back like that. And then I want to create a door frame. So I will press 3 or click right up here to the face select, and I'm going to select this face right here. And then I'll hold down the Shift key and I'm going to select these other faces. So I can now press Shift D to duplicate, and then I'll press S to scale, and we're going to scale that up to make the door frame a bit thicker. And I want the thickness here to be the same as the thickness going back and forth. So I'm going to scale this on the X axis. So I'll press S to scale and X to scale it on the X axis like that. And then I can scale it as well on the Y axis to make it a bit thicker. So that is looking good. So I can now press E to extrude and then S to scale, and we're going to scale that down, but then I'm going to press Shift Y, and that way it will not scale it on the Y axis, just the X and the Z axis. So I'll scale it down, click there to place that, and then I need to press S to scale. We're going to scale it in on the X axis, and I'll bring it down a little bit. So that's looking good, and we now have that door frame right there. Now I do also need to navigate down here, and I'm going to select this face. We'll Shift select that face, and I'm going to press S to scale. We'll scale it on the Z axis, so hit Z. Then I can type in 0 and enter just to flatten that. So I'm now going to make a door handle. So I'll press Shift A, and to make the door handle, I'm going to use a cylinder. Now, once you add the cylinder, it's right there. Now on the cylinder settings, if you click right there behind me on the cylinder settings, I'm going to change the vertices to 8 so that it is very low poly, and then I can close that. So I can now press G to grab, S to scale, and G to grab, and we're just going to stick this right here where the door handle would be on the door, and I'll scale that down a little bit. Okay, so I'll press period on the numpad to zoom into this, and then I can press R to rotate. Let's rotate it on the X axis, and I'll type in 9, 0, and enter to rotate it by 90 degrees. And then you can just stick it into place, maybe scale it down a little bit. So I'm now going to select this face, and I'll press E to extrude and S to scale, and then E to extrude, bring that out a bit more, and then E to extrude and S to scale, and we're gonna scale that down. So just a very simple low poly door handle. I think I'll scale the whole thing down a little bit. So I'm gonna hover my mouse over the object and press L, and then I can press S to scale it and stick it in. I can also scale it out a little bit. So we're now gonna create some windows. So we're gonna create some windows down here, and then on the second story, we're gonna create a slightly different variation of the windows. So back in edit mode, I'm gonna press Shift A, and I'm going to go right here and add a plane. I'll press G to grab, and I can also rotate this. So I'll rotate this on the X axis, and I'll type in 9, 0, and enter to rotate that over. I'll press G to grab, and I want to bring that over. I'll scale that down a little bit, and then I'll press S to scale. Let's scale it out on the X axis, and I'll scale it out to like that. So I can now press I, and I will inset that face, and I'm going to bring that down there and click to place that. And then I can press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that window in a little bit. So I'm now going to click right here to go to the vertex select, and then holding down the Alt key, I can select that ring of outer vertices. So I can now press E to extrude, and then click with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the Y axis and bring it in, and then click to place that. So we've basically just created a little window with a windowsill. Now let's tab back into object mode, and before I duplicate all the windows and move them around, I do want to create some materials. So I'll press Z, move my mouse up, let go to go into the rendered view, and I'm going to click on new here to add a new material in the material slot. So this material, I can just call this building. And of course you can use whatever color you want, but for the base color, I'm going to use kind of a tannish, sort of light yellowish color. So something like that. And then I will also bring the roughness up a bit so it's more rough. All right, so right back here in the material slots, I'm going to click on the plus here, and then I can click on new, and I'm going to make this window sill. So I'm going to rename this to window sill. And I now want to tab into edit mode, and I need to select some objects and then assign the window sill to those faces. So I'm going to press L with my mouse hovered over this object, make sure the window sill is selected, and you can click on assign, and that'll assign that. And then I just want to take the base color and make it a little bit darker. So it's going to be white, but just a little bit darker. Now we need to make another material for the window. So let's click here to the face select, and I'm just going to select this face. And then again, right here in the material slot, I'm going to click on the plus here. Let's click on new, and I can just call this window. So let's scroll down here, and we're going to change the window material. So I'm going to turn the transmission all the way up to 1, and then let's scroll back up, and I need to select the window and click on assign, and that will assign the window to the window material. Now also down here, I'm going to turn the roughness down. So let's turn the roughness pretty far down, and I don't want to really be able to see through the windows. I just want this to be kind of some stylized glass. So it looks like glass, but you actually can't see through it. If you wanted to, of course, you could go in here and you could model some different things inside the house and then see through the window, but I am not going to do that. So I'm going to take the base color and just make that a bit darker. So we now have some simple glass just like that. So let's do a few more materials. So I'm going to do the foundation material or the concrete. So I'm going to tab into edit mode. Let's navigate right over here. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, select that ring of faces, and then hold down the Shift and Alt key. We're going to select that ring of faces, and also hold down the Shift key and select that one as well. And then we're going to do the same thing up here. So hold down the Shift Alt key and select that ring of faces, Shift Alt, select that one, and also this one as well. And then also up here, we're going to select that ring of faces and that ring of faces and that one as well. And then also in here, we're going to do that one. And then I'm also just going to hold down the Shift key, and I will select these 3 faces right there. All right, so I'm going to click on the plus here. Let's click on new. And for this new material, I'm going to call this foundation. Or you could also just rename it to concrete or something like that. So I'm going to click on the assign button to assign that. And then on the base color, I'm going to make this a gray color. So let's make it a nice gray color. I think that looks very nice. And then also let's turn the roughness. Let's go to the roughness, turn the roughness a bit up so it's a bit more rough. And then I think I will turn the base color down just a little bit more. All right, so that's good. Let's tab in edit mode, and then I'll deselect everything. And then up here, I want to make these a similar material, but they're going to be a bit lighter. So I'm going to press L and L and L. So just hover your mouse over the objects and press L. So let's click on the plus here again. And then in the drop down, I can actually search for the foundation material, and we're going to add the foundation material into this slot again. But then I want to duplicate it so it's a separate material. So I'm going to click on this button right here that's going to duplicate it, and I can just call this boxes or whatever you want to call this. All right, so I'm now just going to click on the assign button, and it's going to assign the boxes material to those boxes up there. And then I just want to make that a little bit brighter. So on the base color, I'm going to make it a little bit brighter like that. And then also I'm going to click back on the foundation. So click on the foundation one, and I'll make it just a little bit darker so there's a bit more contrast. So I will do more materials later, but we can now duplicate those windows and just put all the windows around. So I'm going to tab in edit mode, and I'm just going to make sure everything is deselected. And then with your mouse hovered over the window, you can press L, and that'll select the entire window. And then I'll press 7 to go to top view, and I can also hold down the Z button and go over to wireframe. So I'll now press Shift D to duplicate that, bring it over here. I'm going to press R to rotate, and I can type in 90, and then I actually need to type in negative after I type in 90. You can see right up here the rotation says 90 because we are rotating it over by 90 degrees. But if I hit negative, now it's going to say negative 90, and then I'll hit enter. So now if I look right there, go into rendered mode, you can see that's looking correct. Let's also press G to grab. We're going to bring this over on the x-axis. We're just going to stick it pretty close right up there. So I'm now going to press Shift D to duplicate this. I'm going to bring it over on the y-axis just like that. And then I also want to make another window here and another window back here. So I'll press Shift D to duplicate it. We're going to bring it over, and then G to grab. We're going to bring it over on the y-axis. And then I can also press R to rotate. We're going to rotate this on the z-axis. And then I can type in 9 and 0. And then enter. And then again, I can press G to grab, and let's bring it back on the y-axis and just stick it into the side there. All right, that's looking pretty good. So I just want to make one more window over here. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, bring that over. I can rotate it again, so press R to rotate on the Z axis, and I'll type in 9, 0, and enter. And then I can press G to grab. We're going to bring it over on the Y axis, just bring it over there. And then I can press G, and we're going to bring it over on the X axis and just stick that in there. All right, let's go up into rendered mode. That's pretty good. So I want to add just a few more windows around here, but the windows up here on the second story, they're going to look a little bit different. So let's go back into edit mode, and I'm going to select one of the top faces of the window sill. I'll press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring it up on the Z axis, and I'll bring it up just like that. Then I can press S to scale, and we're going to scale it on the X axis, and I'm going to bring that down. So I can now press E, and E will extrude that, and I'm going to bring that down. And then I'm going to hover my mouse over this object and press L to select the entire thing. And I'll press S to scale. We're going to scale that down. And then I can press G and Z and bring it up. All right, so I'm now going to press Control R to add a loop cut. I'm going to add a loop cut right up there. And then I can press Control R to add a loop cut, and we're going to add another one up there. So I'm now going to click right here to go to the face select, and I'm going to select this face, and then hold down the Shift key and select this face. So I'll now press I to inset, and we're going to inset those faces because we're going to be creating 2 windows. So bring it in like that. And then also I don't want there to be too much of a space right there. So I'm actually just going to click right here to go to the edge select, and then I can just select this edge, and I'll press G and Z, and we're going to bring that down. Select this edge right here, and I can press G and Z, and we are going to bring that one up. All right, so click back over here on the face select, and I'm now just going to select this face, hold down the Shift key and select this face. So I can press E to extrude. We're going to extrude that in. Click to place that. And then also let's click right over here on the window, so the window material, and make sure those are still selected, and you can click on the assign button. So now we have some cool windows there. So I now just want to do the same thing as these windows. So I'm going to duplicate the windows and just put a few here and there around. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'll hover my mouse over this object and press L to select the linked vertices. And then I can press Shift D, bring it over on the X axis. I'll press R to rotate. Let's rotate it on the Z axis, and then I'll type in 9 and 0 and enter. And then I can bring that over there, and I'll bring this one to about there. I'll press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring it over on the Y axis again. And then again, I can rotate this. So R to rotate, Z to rotate it on the Z axis, and then 9, 0 and enter. And then I can bring that over. And then for this one back here, I'll have 2. So I'll press Shift D to duplicate, bring that over. You could also do 3 if you want to. If you duplicated that, that looks pretty cool. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do 2. So I'm going to press L to select this window, Shift D to duplicate. We're going to bring it over on the X axis, and then I can rotate this on the Z axis, and I'll rotate it by 90 degrees, and then bring this over. So G to grab, bring it over. And then also I want to bring it back a little bit. So I'll press G to grab, and we're going to bring it over on the X axis. All right, that is looking very nice. So now I just need to kind of finish up this door right here. So I'll just navigate down here, and I'm first going to just select one of the pieces of the door frame, and then I'll just press L to select the linked vertices. Let's click on the plus right here to add a new material in the slot. I'm going to click on new. We really are building up a lot of materials in this object. So on the material here, I'm just going to rename this to frame or door frame, and then you can click on the assign button to assign that. Now on the base color, I'm going to make this a dark color and a brown color, maybe like that. Something that looks good for maybe a wooden door frame. You could also use the white if you wanted to have a white door frame and kind of match this frame right here. I'm going to use a dark wood frame, so like that. And then let's tab into edit mode, and I'm going to select the door. And then again, let's click on the plus here to add a new material in the slot. I'm going to click on new, and I can rename this one to door, and then click on the assign button. So then for this one on this door here, I'm just going to make this a brown color as well, but this one is just going to be a little bit of a lighter brown color. That's a little bit too red. I want to make it a bit more just of a regular brown color. All right, that's looking very good. So I just want to do the door handle now. So I'll tab in edit mode. I'll press A to deselect everything, and then I'm going to press L to select the linked vertices. So we've selected the entire handle. So let's click on the plus again to add another material in the slot, and then let's click on new, and I can just name this handle or door handle, whatever you want to call it, and then make sure you click on the assign button to assign the handle to the actual door handle. And then on the base color, I'm just going to make this a dark color, and then I'll also turn the roughness down a bit so it looks a bit more shiny. All right, so press Control S again to save. There is just one more thing I want to do to this house, and that is that I want to add a little covered piece right here. So I'll tab in edit mode, and then I'm going to just select this face right here. I'll press Shift D to duplicate. I'll bring this face down, and then I can press S to scale. Let's scale it down on the Z axis like that, and then I can also scale it up on the x-axis to make it a bit longer, and I can kind of bring that over and just stick it right there in front of the door. So I'm now going to go right here to the vertex select, and I'm just going to select this vertex and then hold down the Shift key and select this vertex. So we have both of these selected. Let's press G to grab, and we want to bring these back on the y-axis. So I'm going to bring them back right there, and now that we've brought that back right there, I'm going to just hover my mouse over this object and press L. That's going to select the entire thing. And then I can press E to extrude, and we want to extrude this on the y-axis. So just extrude it back on the y-axis like that. All right, and also press G and Y. Make sure you bring it all the way back, so like that. So I'm now just going to go right here to the face select, and I'm going to select this face right here, and I can press X to delete, and I want to delete the faces. So there we go. We now have that little covered area. So I'm now just going to hover my mouse over this object and press L, and that is going to select all the linked vertices. And to give it a little bit of thickness, I'll just press E to extrude, and then I'll press S to scale. And then I will just scale the entire thing down like that. And then I can press 3 to go to side view. I'll press Z, move my mouse over and let go to go into wireframe. And I'll press G to grab. And I'm just going to move this down so that this piece right here is flat with the bottom. So now you can see that has some thickness, although I do want to press S to scale. And we're going to scale it up on the x-axis and bring it out like that. So there we go. Now we have some thickness there. And then also I need to select everything in edit mode, and I'll press Shift N to recalculate the normals. All right, let's go into rendered mode, see how that's looking. So that's pretty good. I do just want to give this a blue material. So in edit mode, I'm going to hover my mouse over this object and press L to select the linked vertices. And let's click on the plus here, and I can click on new. We'll add another material, and I can just call this cover, because it's going to kind of cover the front of the door. And then click on assign with that selected, and then right here for the base color, I'm going to make that a blue color, something like that. You could also maybe duplicate this and kind of put them over the windows. If you want to do that, that might be kind of cool. All right, and that is it. So that is how you create the low poly stylized building in Blender. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you'd like to learn how to create more low poly 3D models, then I do have the full tutorial where I show you how to create a bunch of different city assets. And I also have some other low poly tutorials, so I'll also leave a link in the description to my low poly tutorial playlist where you can learn how to create some other things like a low poly car and low poly nature assets. And if you'd like to help support me and my YouTube channel, then checking out my Gumroad store and Patreon page is a great way to help support me. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you for watching.